Hello, this is Ken Ferry with this week's Boots in the Field. Doing quite a bit of traveling here this past week, and I thought I'd give you a crop report from the road. Traveled over to central Indiana and from there south. I guess I was a little bit surprised at the corn crop from central Indiana going south. A little more water damage than I thought, a little rougher corn crop than I was looking for based on other reports that I've heard. The beans actually look pretty good. Traveling into Kentucky and Tennessee, those two are very strong states when it comes to corn. I was very impressed with what I saw from the corn crop there. I would have to imagine they're looking at potential records in some of those areas there as well. What did surprise me about Kentucky and Tennessee was how far behind that corn is from normal. They're not going to be harvesting any sooner than we are, the way that crop looked. So they must have got a late start in it itself, but I don't think they had hot enough temperatures to give them too much trouble. Did travel through Alabama and Mississippi and Louisiana. All looked about the same down there as far as they were finishing the harvest. With our contacts down there, corn was running 14-15%. And looking at it, it looked like it was pretty good from the road. Again, contact with the growers saying their dryland corn in the 180 bushel range, their irrigated corn in the 180 to 200 bushel range. Which was somewhat depressing for them as far as they look for those irrigated acres to be quite a bit more than that. Again, just too much water and pushed them around too much earlier in the season. As we traveled back up through Paducah, Kentucky, from Paducah, Kentucky through Tuscola, Illinois, again, the crop looked pretty decent. Again, fighting water and nitrogen problems in the corn itself. I was surprised in that stretch how much prevented plant acres were there. I guess I didn't expect to see that much down there. In travel, in that loop all in general, I was impressed everywhere with the bean crop. Definitely the bean crop has made a pretty big comeback. Probably the other alarming thing was the amount of weeds that are in the beans. We saw a lot of water hemp, palmer, you name it, but tremendous weed pressure throughout the nation in the soybean side. Traveling through there, so there's going to be a lot of weed pressure. This Thursday we were out in New York, upstate New York, and did a program out there for the New York corn growers. New York, where we were between Rochester and the Finger Lakes out there, looks a lot like northern Illinois. A lot of water damage in the corn, a lot of stressed corn, a lot of uneven and yellow corn out there. Those guys are kind of frustrated. Same scenario there. The soybeans look pretty good, but they're fighting a lot of weeds in the soybean crop as well as we are here trying to manage that itself. So in all, corn crop was about what I expected driving through there. The bean crop was actually better than I expected. Here in Illinois, we're in the fields this week. Things are coming along pretty nicely. The corn continues to fill pretty good out there. We're not seeing too much from insects. There are some aphids, but most of them were down in the ear zone, and I don't expect that to be an issue. But did see some pretty impressive grasshopper damage way out in the field. These guys are going to turn out to be a little bit bigger issue than we originally thought, I think, as far as how far out we're seeing them from the edges itself. Cutting these stalks and looking inside, you can definitely see the amount of disease and nitrogen issues are starting to show inside the stalk itself. So we're starting to see these stalks telling us or indicating they're probably not going to stay together in some of these fields. So there's going to be some fields that are going to challenge standability, and we're going to have to start a regimen of scouting to decide how we're going to harvest these fields so we don't get caught in that situation there. Beans have made real big strides here in the last 2 weeks. Most of the beans are in that R5 to R5.5 range and moving along pretty good. You can now start to see the white mold from the pickup, so the situation's a little bit easier to pick out. But the good news is the amount of white mold is going to be, I think, less than we originally feared. With flowering being done now, I don't expect any major new outbreaks. It'll be just old ones that are starting to expose themselves in itself. The aphid numbers in the soybeans have jumped in the beans, and we do need to keep watch there. As I was talking to some of the guys out in Iowa, a lot of the beans out there have already been sprayed, as well as southern Minnesota. And when we were in upstate New York on Thursday, they were spraying aphids out there as well and trying to manage their aphid populations in the soybeans. So those late group 3 and 5s to 4 ones You guys want to keep an eye on them, make sure that we don't have something sneak in the back door. I think most of our beans are going to make it, but at the same time, we don't want to be caught sleeping at the wheel. We're still finding some strong patches of stink bug numbers out there. So you guys with the soybean seed fields, be watching those. Make sure that you don't get docked from the stink bug attack in itself. But other than that, the bean crop's coming along pretty impressive. Corn crop's feeling pretty good. We are going to have to keep our eyes on that corn crop again so it doesn't fall down on us. All this crop is going to need some more rain to finish, and it's going to need a lot of sunshine. But bring those two factors together, and I think we'll piece together a pretty respectable crop in a lot of areas in the state itself. So with that, I'll talk to you next week, and keep it safe.